All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the third part of the show, we're going to now get into talking about Jalen Hurts returning to practice. And if there's any concern of there being of him being rusty going into this game against the Packers. Now, I went back to 2022 because if you remember, Jalen Hurts got injured, and he missed the game against the Saints, and then he played a little bit. Actually, I don't know. Did he play the whole game against the Giants in the regular season finale? I don't remember, but he did play. I have his stats here. He went 20 of 35 for 229 yards, no touchdowns, and a pick. But there was still some concern for him going into the postseason, and he was fine. He was fine. The Eagles, they crushed the Giants, then they crushed the 49ers. I don't know why I said the Seahawks. But then he had a good Super Bowl. So in the 2022 playoffs, Hurts had a passer rating of 96.9 with 579 yards and 3 touchdowns in 3 games. It's pretty good. Well, the 49ers game, Brock Purdy got hurt, and they kind of just, were in control of that game. He only went 15 of 25 for 121 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Against the Giants, 16 of 24, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. In the Super Bowl, that was his best performance from that season, 27 of 38, 304 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. He did have a fumble in the game that led to a Nick Bolton touchdown. But Hurts had a good postseason. And now going up against the Packers, obviously different injury because I believe it was a shoulder injury what kept him out and then had a missed time. I think it's a different injury. It's a concussion, obviously, but him returning to practice is a good sign, of course, and he is going to play, I would imagine. Like I said, I'm not really concerned about there being rust. Now, I think the Eagles are kind of catching the Packers at a good time because the Packers are kind of, I guess, limping into the playoffs. They're not coming in with momentum right now. They've lost their last 2 games. Jordan Love is banged up. Both quarterbacks are coming in banged up. The Packers lost one of their receivers. They're missing one of their top corners. And you know what? If they want to, look, if they got to ease Jalen Hurts back into it, you got Saquon Barkley, who can carry the load. This Packers run defense can be had. So I'm not really concerned about Jalen Hurts and him being rusty going into this game. Maybe there's a little bit of rust, but even if there is a little bit of rust, I don't think it's going to be enough where the Eagles are in trouble. Because the Eagles are one of the best teams in the NFL. And he's going to be backed behind a very good running game and, of course, a very good defense. I don't think rust is going to be a problem. And, I talked about it a few times leading up to the playoffs that, I wanted to see him in this passing game be better. And they have shown that, look, if they got to play that kind of game, they could do that. They have the players to do it. You got 1A and 1B, A.J.Brown and Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley, of course, can catch passes out of the backfield if he has to. The Eagles can beat you in different ways. So, yeah, I'm not really concerned about it. I think this game is going to be, if it's going to be a blowout, I don't think the Packers are going to blow out the Eagles if they win this game like they did Dallas. That's not going to happen. I think if the Packers win this game, it's going to be a close game. I think if it's a blowout, I think it'd be the Eagles that would blow out the Packers and not vice versa. But I don't think the game is going to be that way. Especially because I think the Packers are due to have a good game. These last couple weeks it hasn't looked great. So, and now it's the playoffs. You throw everything out the window. You're in. Let's see what happens. And for at least the one postseason where they went to the Super Bowl, Jalen Hurts played well. Last year was not good. They were one and done, and the year before the Super Bowl year, they were one and done as well. And oddly enough, both games were against the Buccaneers in Tampa. And one of them was with Tom Brady, and the other was with Baker Mayfield last year. So what are we going to get out of Jalen Hurts this year? Well, those two games were on the road. The Eagles, they were the number 1 seed in 2022. They're the number 2 seed this year. So they're at home. They won their 2 playoff games at home when they went to the Super Bowl. I think Jalen Hurts is going to do well. And he's done well against the Packers. He hasn't lost to the Packers yet. Now, in Brazil, both teams played sloppy. That game was so long ago, you could almost categorize that as a different season. Not really, but I'm just saying that because that's how long ago it was. Well, yeah, it's kind of a different season because we're in 2025. That was in September of 2024. Now we're playing at Lincoln Financial Field. It's going to be, I would say it'd be a less sloppy. It's not going to be as sloppy of a game. But I think we'll see turnovers. But yeah, I'm not really, like I said, I'm not concerned about Jalen Hurts going in. But yeah, it has been a while because the last time he played was against Washington. And, then they had Kenny Pickett start against Dallas, and then you had him get hurt, and then Tanner McKee came in, and he finished the job. He threw a touchdown to A.J. Brown, and then, they beat the Giants with him at quarterback. Is Jalen Hurts a system quarterback, though? No, he's not. He's not. The Eagles have enough. The Eagles, I think, will be okay for this game. Again, I'm trying hard not to give away who I'm going to pick, but I think you could probably tell where I'm leaning as of right now. We'll make our picks tomorrow. But we will talk about the playoff games at the end of the show when I rank them. But yeah, this Eagles team is just too good. Even if, well, I don't know if you want to see Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee in the playoffs. It's a whole different thing. And the Eagles, they've had years where, they've had to start backup quarterbacks or they've had to put in backup quarterbacks, and it's worked out. Look what happened, when Carson Wentz gets hurt, Nick Foles goes into the playoffs. Nick Foles was great, wins the Super Bowl. Following year, if Alshon Jeffrey doesn't bobble that pass and it gets picked off by the Saints, who knows? Do they go on another run again? And then the following year, Carson Wentz finally starts a playoff game, he gets hurt, and they got to put in Josh McCown. So the Eagles don't want to do that again. Unless, I don't see Tanner McKee or Kenny Pickett leading them to a Super Bowl. I really don't. If it's going to be a quarterback, if it's going to be a quarterback that leads them to the Super Bowl, it's Jalen Hurts. But I don't know. We'll see how this game goes. Obviously, with the playoffs this week, going to be completely locked in. The NFC playoffs, I've said it a lot this week. The NFC playoffs are going to be really good. I think they are going to be. You're going to see some of the best games that you've seen this weekend, all year. From all year, the best games are going to be this weekend, and then we'll see what happens the following weekend too. I'm looking forward to it. And then obviously, like I said, I'll be ranking the playoff games from least intriguing to most intriguing. Now, it was very tough to rank them because I think all the games this weekend are good. Some more than others, but I don't think there's one game I look at and say, yeah, this game's going to be horrible. I mean, maybe you guys probably have some that you're like, yeah, this game's gonna stink, but I don't know. I like all the matchups this weekend. I think you'll be surprised by what I put at number one. But little tease though, it's not this one. It's not this one. Packers Eagles, because we got it already. We got it already this year. I mean, it's going to be a different game. It's not going to be what was it, 34-29, whatever it was. And Jordan Love got hurt in that game, and now he's coming in hurt, a little bit banged up. Yeah, we'll see how it goes. But like I said, I'm not too concerned just because we've seen Jalen Hurts get hurt, and then he ends up putting together a good postseason. Different kind of injury, I get it, but I'm not overly concerned. But let me know what you guys think though about the news of Jalen Hurts returning to practice. Very encouraging though. That's a good sign. Because yeah, if they had to start Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee in the playoffs, yeah, I wouldn't feel too good about them. But that's my thoughts on it. So we're gonna take our next break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Chiefs receiving some criticism and Travis Kelce defending his team because people are talking about the Chiefs resting their starters and saying that they threw the game against the Broncos and they prevented the Bengals from making the playoffs. So we'll get into that. I have a lot to say about that when we return. So with that being said, stick around and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.